I did film like a one-on-one interview thing with Andrew, walk me through why you wanted to talk to him today, yada yada, and he gave me a bunch of answers about that seemed really like weird and centrist. You know, they never asked me to not release the footage or anything. They didn't, even though I told them that it was my own thing separately. All of a sudden, I just started getting like inundated with calls by Jade, who's Andrew's producer. They're begging me to take the video down, to change the thumbnail, to remove Andrew from it, that I'm messing up everything for them. I'm messing up Andrew's big comeback, she kept saying. She's like, we've been planning this comeback and you really put a wrench in everything. And I said to her, like, this guy's like full on a rapist. I don't give a shit that I messed up your guys' little comeback.
Hello, Alex. How are you
Hey,
doing?
how's it going, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course.
I was catching your opening there, and yeah, when I filmed with Andrew, Susan was his cameraman. Susan and Jade.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a small interaction. We'll get into that
Yeah.
in a little bit. But
Okay, for sure, man.
yeah, I was like, that was that guy's name, because I was filming with Jimmy Lee, and Jimmy Lee kept mixing up the two people that were with Andrew.
Right.
It's like one of them's named Susan, one of them's name is Jade.
Right. Okay, well, it's great to have you on. I'm glad that we figured this out. And yeah, like I was telling you earlier, I figured that we'd kind of just start with some like general questions just so the audience can get to know you a little bit better if they don't already. And then we can kind of get into the Callaghan stuff. How's that sound?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So this is always my favorite question to ask everybody I interview because it's always different. It's just kind of fun, like learning about it. But what made you want to be a YouTuber in the first place? Like, how'd you get down this path?
So I have been doing YouTube stuff since like 2006. When I was like a kid,
Mm-hmm.
I had a YouTube channel, and I was just like really into it from a young age. And then I went to film school at NYU, and I kind of took a break from it for a long time. I was just like, I had deleted my whole channel with like hundreds of videos on it, and I was like, I'm gonna be a real deal filmmaker. And then I could spend a couple years working for MTV doing that type of thing, and yeah, I like came full circle back around with it, and I'd worked in documentary for a while, and I wanted to start like making my own documentaries instead of like, I don't know, working for other people versus working for yourself. It's a lot more fulfilling.
Right.
So yeah, I just got into like posting on YouTube more often, and then I started doing these like bigger documentaries, and yeah, just kind of like found space to continue doing that, which is awesome.
Okay. Well, I can relate to that one about kind of wanting to be your own boss and everything. I get that for sure. And okay, what kind of got you into like documentaries? What made you start being interested in that?
Well, like when I was in film school, I was really not interested in doc stuff because most of the work I was doing was in doc, and I was like, I wanted to make like horror films and shit.
Okay.
I wanted to make like I wanted to be like Stanley Kubrick or whatever.
Sure.
And I think like when you're out of school and you don't have like a class where you have to work on a project with somebody, then you basically have no opportunity to make films anymore. So I was like, well, if I want to continue doing this, I have to make documentaries. And so it was kind of just like out of necessity, but also because I felt like I had like an interesting perspective to offer on the topics that I cover. Like
Yeah.
I made a doc on Johnny Somali, and it's not your standard, like most things about Johnny Somali are like, they talk about how despicable he is and how horrible he is, which like, yeah, he sucks, but like, why does he suck? Why is he this way? And most people don't care about that, I guess, on the internet. But my like, the thing that piques my interest is like, why is someone the way that they are, especially like a strange person? Why are they like this?
Yeah. No, I totally understand that one. Yeah. It's always like an interesting like psychological dive into, strange people. I'm I'm in that same boat. Do you still have any interest in potentially pursuing like the horror movie route?
I have a couple of projects that I like wrote with friends and stuff like that, but my main thing right now is doing like mostly like comedy style. Like I'm doing this doc right now that I've been working on for like I don't know 8 months, where I've been like interviewing Michael Jackson impersonators all over the country, and I'm trying to become a Michael Jackson impersonator myself.
Okay.
And like it's about like dealing with issues of mediocrity. So like these people who impersonate Michael Jackson, they're never going to become as good as Michael Jackson.
Of course.
Just like in our lives, we're constantly like struggling and trying to become like a less mediocre version of ourselves. Someone in chat said my trilogy of kick streamer documentaries is pretty solid. I appreciate that you recognize that as a trilogy, bro, because that's what I was going for. Is like I want to do like you know pairings of stuff. So like I did 3 docs about kick streamers, and now I'm doing 3 docs that are about music. So I'm doing this Michael Jackson thing, and then I'm doing one that's about the comedy band The Axis of Awesome. Uh, it's gonna be like a trio of different like music related documentaries.
Nice. Okay. That'll be good. That'll be good. Okay. And then,
Appreciate it.
so is there anybody like as you were kind of starting that was like inspirational to you either? I mean, I know you said Kubrick with the horror film stuff, but like in terms of like your content, like any other YouTubers that inspired you or just anybody period?
A ton of what's so cool is like I've gotten to like make this stuff and like connect with people who I really looked up to.
Mhm.
So like I love like Ordinary Things, for example, I love his stuff, and I love his like documentary style stuff, like when he went and filmed with the guy Brian Johnson who wants to live forever.
Yeah.
That was a really great piece. But I think like the thing that really made me want to do docs on YouTube and see that there was like a space for it was when iDubbbz did Full Force, the documentary on Airsoft Fatty.
Of
I was
course.
like, that's so in the realm of what I could do and my skill set, that I was like, why am I not doing this? And I was already making stuff on YouTube at the time. And I also like I would say like that era of iDubbbz is very inspiring to me, because I also have like a whole series on my channel that's basically content cop, where I like do like elaborate pranks on and like interview conversations with bad people. So I've talked to like Alex Jones, Alan Dershowitz, the Daily Wire, fucking. There was this guy who was on The Bachelor who's really transphobic on Twitter, who I like sent a camera crew to his house, and he like did blackface and said the N word.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like the my work kind of I try to like run the gun between like like content cop documentary, but also like with a Borat type of, or like Sacha Baron Cohen type of like flair to it, where I'm
Yeah.
like using people's like playbook against them, and often like using obfuscation to get them to say something that they wouldn't normally say. You
Yeah.
know, they make them think that they're talking to someone who they agree with.
Yeah. No, I get you. Okay. And then, okay, do you have like a favorite documentary, just like period? Like, it can be professional, it could be a YouTube documentary. Do you have one?
Party Monster is probably the best documentary I've ever seen. It's about the New York City club kid scene in the '90s,
Mm-hmm.
and it like this one guy becomes really popular in the club scene, and then it turns out that he murdered somebody, and it's
Oh.
a very interesting. They remade it into a movie with Seth Green and Macaulay Culkin,
Mm-hmm.
and the guys who directed that documentary became like huge. They're the guys who created RuPaul's Drag Race, actually.
Oh, really? Okay. I've never
Yeah,
seen
so
that,
it's
but
like
I'll have to check it out.
it's a very pop. I wouldn't say it's a show that I really enjoy, but like the filmmakers that were behind RuPaul's Drag Race, they used to be like these real deal documentary filmmakers. They made a film about Heidi Fleiss, who was like a madam in Vegas. They made a lot of really interesting documentaries before they started making RuPaul's Drag Race.
I had no idea. That's crazy. Okay. And then have you ever seen Tickled?
I saw Tickled in theaters in New York. I went to a Q&A, and the subject of the film sent a bunch of dudes to like stand up and be like,
Yeah.
this is a lie.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I love
Tickled.
that.
I love David Ferrier. He's a really,
Yeah.
really talented filmmaker.
He's great. He's great. What's your favorite video that you've made?
Ooh, that's tough. Let me pull up my little catalog here. I'd probably say that my favorite one is the Mr. Bass documentary, but that's just because I put so much blood into that one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the Mr. Bass one's awesome. I love the Johnny Somali doc, even though a lot of people hated that. The other one that I would give a special shout out to is I did this video on Ethan Klein like 6 months ago, and a bunch of people saw it. It didn't get a ton of views on my channel. It kind of got it got like reacted to by everybody.
Yeah.
But I did this like Terminator 2 style opening in that one that I really liked.
Hell yeah. Okay. And then who do you think the like craziest person that you've done a video on would be? Would it be Mr. Based, or who would it be?
Mr. Based is the most evil person I've ever done a video on, but I would say the craziest is probably Alex Jones.
Yeah, okay. That actually, honestly, yeah, that checks out actually.
Mr. Based is just evil though. He's not crazy. He's just like the most evil dude ever.
Yeah.
And like the real ending of that Mr. Based thing is that he ended up I sued him and represented myself and won a bunch of money against him. So
hell yeah. Okay.
Someone chats up, what did Mr. Based do? Never heard of him. You can watch the doc after this stream. I would highly recommend like to get the full deep dive of it. But basically what happened is he was pimping a autistic alcoholic for TTS money, and he was also just like a famous pimp back in the day. And more than that, he killed a girl in 2010 and admitted it to me on the phone. And so that becomes like a major part in the last act of the film, and that's why he hit me in the face and gave me a permanent scar.
Which is just absolutely insane. Yeah.
It's just an admission of guilt.
Right. Reminds me a little bit of did you ever watch The Jinx?
Yeah, a lot of people said that it was like The Jinx, and like the one thing that has made it not like The Jinx is that I went down to Miami Beach Police Department and I showed them all this stuff, and they haven't done shit because I'm not famous like Andrew Jarecki is.
Right.
If the movie was just a little bit bigger, he would have been arrested for the murder. But Miami Beach Police Department just doesn't care because they don't have to investigate anything unless there's public pressure.
Right. Okay. Well, let's get into Andrew. So, how did you first meet Andrew, and what have you done with him in the past?
So I was a long time ago, before everyone hated H3, including myself. I was making a documentary, my first documentary I ever put out on my channel, technically. That was like with a camera crew going and interviewing a crazy subject. I made a documentary on Jimmy Lee, the Jersey Outlaw. If you don't know who that is, it's a guy who would call into the H3 podcast, who was basically like the world's shittiest comedian. And he would go harass people on the street and make a bunch of dumb jokes. And Ethan loved it, so he would have him on his show all the time. And I thought it was an interesting opportunity to make a film about a guy who's in his late 60s and was desperate to be famous. And like this idea of like, you know, he did this thing his whole life. He just wanted to, he was a dentist, you know, his whole life. and all he wanted was to be seen and to be famous like these comedians he idolized. And then he finally got the opportunity to, but he didn't have any of the skills. And so I just thought it was a very interesting, like, the idea of the doc was that I would give him the opportunity to use those skills. So like I set him up at a stand-up comedy show and he bombed, and stuff like that. So anyways, Jimmy Lee was trying really hard to like get like stuff for the documentary, like interesting stuff to be included in there, because he didn't want it to just be about his life.
Mm-hmm.
And one day he calls me up and he's like, "Do you know who Andrew Callaghan is?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know who that is," because like, you know, he was canceled already at the time. This
Okay.
was like, I gotta look at what year this was. It was God. This was 2 years ago, almost
Okay.
3 years ago, um, in 2023. It's 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So he calls me. He says Andrew Callaghan is going to film something with me, and you got to come be there to get it in the documentary. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, because I was like, why the fuck? Andrew Callahan's like currently canceled. Nobody knows like what he's up to on the internet, and he wants to film with Jimmy Lee. Like, why the fuck does he want to film with Jimmy Lee? That seems like a really weird choice for him.
Right.
And so we go to this diner called Olga's in South Jersey, in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And lo and behold, Andrew and his crew show up to film like a weird, edgy comedy segment with Jimmy. And I was like there filming it because I was doing my doc on Jimmy, and I kept saying to them like, "Hey, I'm not Jimmy's camera guy. I'm a documentary filmmaker making a separate thing on this guy. So I have like no involvement with him, just so you know." Because they kept saying stuff to Jimmy like, "Jimmy, don't release any of this footage early." And they weren't saying anything to me. They weren't even like looking at me or talking to me. They were just treating me like I was his camera guy, even though I kept saying, "I'm not his camera guy. I'm a YouTuber. I have 10,000 subs. I make documentaries." And they were just like completely ignoring me.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's really weird. But I did film like a one-on-one like interview thing with Andrew after he like did his thing with Jimmy, where I like pulled him aside. I was like, "So what do you think of Jimmy? Like, walk me through why you wanted to talk to him today, yada yada." And he gave me a bunch of answers about that seemed really like weird and centrist, that were about like, you know, we need to like, I don't want to misquote him, but he talked a lot about like, you know, people misinterpreting comedy for other things, and people who refuse to see things from the right perspective, stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's pretty uncomfortable. And so my like go-to thing after that was, they never asked me to not release the footage or anything. They didn't, even though I told them that it was my own thing separately. Um, then like a couple days later, I edited that little sequence with Jimmy and Andrew together, and I posted it on my channel because I was
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I want to like, this is good promo for the documentary to show like Jimmy Lee interacting with Andrew Callaghan while he's still like not, you know, publicly back on the internet. And all of a sudden, I just start getting like inundated with calls by Jade, who's Andrew's producer. I don't know her last name, but she kept calling me, and I'm like, "How did you even get my number?" I guess Jimmy gave it to them because he was so freaked out because they called and yelled at him for me releasing the footage. And they're begging me to take the video down, to change the thumbnail, to remove Andrew from it, that I'm messing up everything for them. I'm messing up Andrew's big comeback, she kept saying. She's like, "We've been planning this comeback and you really put a wrench in everything." And I said to her, like, this guy's like full on a rapist. I don't give a shit that I messed up your guys' little comeback. Like, I think you're missing. I like got really heated with her on the phone, and I was like, "You're missing the point here. I actually don't give a fuck about Andrew Callaghan. I was there to film stuff with Jimmy, and I told you that over and over again. I'm under no obligation to do anything for you guys." guys.
Right.
And they were like, well, we asked you to. And I'm like, no, you asked Jimmy, and you acted like Jimmy was my boss. And they basically, Jade just kept implying that like these is gonna be like, me posting the video is long-term damage to Andrew's image, and that it could result in me being sued and held financially responsible if his comeback doesn't work, and that they'd spent all this money organizing his big comeback, and that I would be me posting the video early would be ruining that, even though I didn't sign anything and there was no verbal agreement,
Right.
that I would be held liable. And I said, and I was just like, yeah, nice fucking try. That is fully not gonna work on me. I'm not a fucking teenager. Like I'm like 28 years old. I don't know who that works on, but I'm just not gonna listen to you. And then eventually, Jimmy Lee like was very upset that when the documentary came out that it didn't have millions of views. And he went on H3 and he started complaining about me. And his biggest complaint was that I ruined his relationship with Andrew Callaghan by yelling at his producer on the phone and telling her to fuck off. But I think in this business, like a lot of people who work in film, they tell you to be nice. It's like the number one thing they tell you is you got to be nice to everyone because you never know who could be a connection.
Sure.
I do not operate in that same way. If someone is a piece of shit and is acting like a piece of shit, I'm going to be like, hey, you're being a huge piece of shit. And like, I don't want to collaborate or interact with people who treat others in that way. I'd rather work with people, even if it is a detriment to myself long term. Like, even if someday I could get a film on HBO and Andrew Callaghan makes a call to make sure that doesn't happen, which wouldn't be possible, by the way, because he burned every bridge there, I'm sure. But you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't care about that because at least I stayed true to who I am and what I stand for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the whole spiel of it, really, is like they threatened me a bunch. They wanted me to change the thumbnail. They wanted me to they said, could you blur Andrew's face in the video and obscure his voice? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing. The video's already uploaded on YouTube. You can't like everyone's already talking about it that Andrew's like quote unquote back. Just take it in stride and fuck off. Like, you don't. Me deleting the video is not going to do anything for you.
Right.
And for me, it would just harm my channel by removing views from it.
Of course. Okay, so a couple of like follow-up questions off of that. Like, obviously, because these were just calls that you were randomly getting, you were never able to like record any of this, right?
I probably should have recorded it. I just wasn't interested in like. I remember, like, I have a knack for recording calls nowadays, but back then I was a lot less, I guess, shady.
Sure.
But I was just kind of like taken aback by it, and also it was before I had a PC. So like when my old setup was I was on a Mac, and so if I wanted to record a call, I had to hold the phone up to the like, you know, camera at the front of the Mac.
Yeah.
Instead of you know, like doing what I do now, which is hold the phone up to my microphone.
Your mic. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Someone said, since the incident, have you noticed any strange figures in ghillie suits lurking around your house at night? No, but for the next 6 months after that, Jade watched all my Instagram stories. Anything I posted on Instagram, she was always the first person to view my Instagram story, even though she didn't follow me.
She had notifications on, bro. That's crazy.
She had notifications on for when I posted stories or something, because she was always viewing it. And I was like, why is she still watching my Instagram story? Like, what does she fucking give a shit about me for?
Right.
And like, one more thing. When she called me to do all of that, I could hear Andrew in the background, like, feeding her lines. And I was like, Andrew, you're such a fucking pussy, dude. Like, just get on and talk to me like a man. Stop, like, having your crew do your dirty work, bro. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And she was like, Andrew's not going to talk to you.
What? I mean,
And that's how he was. That's how he was on the shoot too. That was the craziest part. Is like, so Andrew's crew showed up. We were sitting inside the diner. Jade and Susan come in and start filming Jimmy. They don't even say who they are. They just start filming him. And I'm like, oh, this must be Andrew's crew. Um, and I say to Jade, I'm like, where's Andrew? And she goes, oh, he's not going to come out yet. He's waiting in the car till we have to start. Um, so then when it's time to film, we walk out into the parking lot outside of this diner, and Andrew comes out of the car that they're sitting in. Uh, he does this whole bit with Jimmy Lee. He films his separate thing with me, and then he goes back to sit in the car while everybody else goes back into the diner. Like, he didn't want to interact with Jimmy off camera at all. He didn't want to interact with anyone off camera at all. He just was like, he went in to do his thing, and then he was done, and it's like, okay, you guys are completely meaningless to me now that I got my content, which I think is kind of
wow.
disgusting, because like the whole, like, my whole sitch when I'm making this stuff is I try to be as like compassionate and understanding of the subject as possible. I try to, like, even with people like fucking Johnny Somali or Mr. Based, I try to like put myself in their shoes and understand why they are the way they are, instead of just like milking them for content and then walking away and acting like they were a monkey that danced for me.
Yeah, right. Of course. I mean, the thing that's like so odd to me is it's like if if it was going to be such a problem for you to like release that footage, why the hell did he agree to even have an interview with you in the first place?
I think that like it didn't matter how many times I said to them that I was not Jimmy's camera guy. I think they just believed that, like, I think they thought that I was like trying to like make something of myself by being Jimmy's camera guy, when in actuality it was like I I like had like a group of people who like put up like 5 grand for me to put this whole doc together. Like, it was like something I had like financed and like worked on,
Right.
and I had like it was the only doc that I ever made where I had paid camera guys for every single day of production. I had like I was hiring guys out because I have this really nice camera now that's back there, called a Blackmagic 6K Pro, but I
Yeah.
didn't own that back then. But I wanted to shoot the film on nice cameras, so I had to pay to have, nice camera guys on set.
Right.
And I kept trying to tell him, like, I'm doing my own thing here that has to do with Jimmy, but I am not tied to Jimmy. He is my subject in my film that I'm making.
Right.
And it just like they were like completely weren't listening, completely just did not care about that, and thought I was trying, like, they really just thought I was capping and trying to look cool because they thought I looked up to him. Which is funny because I'm fucking older than Andrew.
Right. Right. I mean, I guess
And
it
I
makes sense.
and I have more movies on HBO than Andrew.
Right. I mean, I think from the perspective of what you were saying about how detached he was from the process, I guess it would make sense for him to just like not be paying any attention to it and just like, make that assumption and then be fine with it and then realize that he was wrong the whole time and then get pissed off. That's just so weird. Wow. Okay. Huh. So you were saying earlier that you had some kind of interaction with Larry Susan, or was that just kind of the general interaction period, or was there something separate that you had with Larry?
No, it was just like it was mostly that, and that I was very apologetic to him because Jimmy kept giving him. I didn't know his name was Larry. I just thought his name was Susan because Andrew introduced him as Susan.
Mm.
And he introduced himself as Susan as well. And so like Jimmy just kept bullying him for being named Susan. And I was like, I'm really sorry about, I don't know why he keeps bullying you about your name. And it was either bullying him for being named Susan or forgetting his name Susan and calling Jade Susan. And I was just like, this is so stupid.
That's that's great. Okay. Okay. And then so the whole phone call part of it. How many phone calls do you think you ended up getting?
I think it was something like 4 or 5 phone calls within one day. It was
Okay.
because it all
All in the
happened
same
in
day.
one evening.
Okay.
Because like, so they called me. Initially, I didn't answer. The second time, I did answer because they like texted me or something and were like, "Hey, it's Jade, Andrew Callaghan's producer. Can you please call us back?" And so I called them back and I talked to them, And then I yelled at them and hung up. And then they called me back one more time and they were like, hey, what if you change the thumbnail and do this? And then we argued a little more. And then I hung up again. And then I talked to Jimmy, and Jimmy called them and said whatever he said. And then they called me back one more time to ask me to delete it. And that was the time when they said, like, you could be held financially responsible.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's stupid. And they also were trying to say, like, if you don't delete it, we're never going to release Jimmy's interview. And I was like, I don't care. I have all the footage. Like, I filmed the entire interaction that you guys had. It doesn't matter if you release it now. It's mine. I already posted it.
Right. Right. What's really interesting about kind of the verbiage that this Jade person used is that it's somewhat similar to the way that they handled the Bill Joyner thing when he was initially sending out like these, I suppose, cease and desists with the film being shown across theaters. I don't know if it was Jade or somebody else, but it was a very similar kind of verbiage where it was like, if you do go through with this and theaters pull out, you're going to be held like financially liable for this, and or there's potential of that happening.
Can I say something else too? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Let me share my screen for this.
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
So I just remembered this. I know it's like I just remembered this, but this was a while ago, and this was a whole me getting hit in the face by Mr. Bass ago. But one thing that Jade kept pushing for also. Oh no, it wasn't Jade. I got another call also. That was not. So there's Jade and Susan right there. There's me,
right
back there. So there was another girl. See this girl? Wait. So this is how the whole scene opened. This girl first showed up. So wait. This project is in no way affiliated with Andrew Callaghan or Channel 5.
Right.
I just wanted to make that be clear, like on the title of it, because I didn't want people to think I was collaborating with Andrew or posting a collab with Andrew. And in actuality, me posting this clip fucked him over so hard. So this girl showed up first. She showed up before Jade and Susan and said Andrew was gonna come in.
Should be here soon, and
Andrew
Callaghan.
Andrew Callaghan.
Andrew Callaghan of Channel 5 News. He is gonna come here and interview.
So that girl reached out to me separately from Jade and Susan. And the weird thing so she showed up and was like, Andrew's gonna be here. And she was the one who got Jimmy with Andrew in the first place.
Yeah.
But she didn't stay when Andrew showed up. And she made sure that she was like, don't tell Andrew I was here. And then when I released this clip, she was like, I can't believe you had me in there, because now Andrew knows that I was there and that I set this up. And I was like, well, why does that matter? Who are you to him? And she was like, I'd rather not say.
What? Okay.
So, who is she? Who is she, and what relationship does she have to him? I don't know. But she asked me to blur her face, too.
Weird. Okay.
And I just... that was the weirdest thing about the whole thing, was like, who is this chick? And how did she get Andrew and Jimmy together, even though she has no relationship with Andrew and didn't want him to know that she was there? It was such a weird thing.
Yeah. No, that's extremely odd. Okay. And was that whole like her reaching out to you, was that after or before?
That was afterwards. She got my number through Jimmy also, and that once I posted that clip, she called me as well as Jade, but she had no, again, I don't know if she's like friendly with their crew or something. I don't know how she set that up. Maybe she was friendly with Jade and helped, bridge the gap there or something. But who is that girl? What relationship did she have to Andrew? Why didn't she want him to see her there? Why did she get so upset? And then the other thing was she was like, I'm not a public person. I can't believe you had my face in this. And I'm like, well, you agreed to it just by sitting there. We mic'd you up. Like, if you saw in that clip I just showed, she was mic'd up with our mics from my team. So if she didn't want to be on camera, why did she let us mic her up?
Right. Yeah.
But it's like she freaked out about it. and she reached out to me, and I really never got like an answer about that because I just wasn't interested. I just really don't care about Andrew Callaghan. I think he's such a piece of shit.
Sure. And I'm sure you were focused on Jimmy, mostly.
Yeah, I was more focused on Jimmy. But like, who was that girl and what is her relationship to him? Is that someone else who was like had a weird sexual encounter with him or something? I just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And after that evening of like the calls, like it was just nothing other than, Jade looking at your stories.
Nothing.
That's so
but again, like I'm downplaying how mean I was to Jade.
Of course. Like you slammed it into her, of course.
I really slammed them hard. I was like, Andrew's a fucking rapist. I was like, Andrew, I know you can hear me on the phone there, you fucking rapist. Like I was really hammering into them to the point that Jade called Jimmy Lee back and complained that I screamed at her. And then Jimmy Lee tried to like use it against me to like get Ethan on his side later on. But like I really, really laid into Jade and Andrew.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So they didn't want to talk to me afterwards because I made it really clear that I didn't fuck with them.
Of course. Yeah. Okay. Huh. That's really interesting. Do you know anything about this Bill Joyner stuff?
Little bit. Like I didn't watch the video Andrew posted.
Mm-hmm.
I did see people talking about it on Twitter. The head moderator of my Discord watched Dear Kelly when they put it out for free.
Yeah.
And the like whole thing that my and like the guy who's my head moderator, like he liked Andrew. He liked Andrew's content enough to sit down and watch Dear Kelly, and he was like, this is super not genuine. Like the trailer to the doc makes it seem like the complete opposite of what happens in the movie, which is just the house gets foreclosed on.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I mean, again, I think that like Andrew's talent is not necessarily being a storyteller or having the best content or even being a good guerrilla journalist or gonzo journalist. His talent is having this chokehold on these like frat boy, center left, like 18 to 35 demographic.
Yeah.
These guys love Andrew. They will go to war for him. You see it in the Twitter comments. Andrew has this hype beast kind of rap, like bad boy type of aesthetic that he's cultivated by collaborating with people like Crip Mac and by being like a pioneer in the world of that like shitty interview with drunk people content.
Sure.
And I think that a lot of people underestimate the power that he got a movie on HBO because he had a lot of like motion on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And producers recognized that motion and said, this guy from the internet gets a movie where he's sitting in a dark room direct to camera talking.
Yeah.
Like so few people get that on HBO. And he got it because he had that motion with the demographic that HBO is obsessed with trying to get, that MTV used to be obsessed with trying to get, that Vice used to be obsessed with trying to get.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, I so through the process of making this video, we've obviously, we've seen the documentary, we've seen the videos, we've seen kind of everything there is to see. We've gone through the court docs and everything. And I mean, essentially what we're trying to say is just that Andrew is framing this lawsuit as completely frivolous and having no legs to it. And that's just, we just don't think that's the case. I mean, when you start to see like some of the stuff that he was doing in this, it's a little psycho. I mean, it's,
who's representing him? Did he retain counsel yet? Because he got like $2 million.
Yes, I'm trying to remember who he said is representing him, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean,
My wonder is how much of the $2 million is going to go to counsel and how much is just going to go into his pocket. Because it doesn't cost this type of stuff doesn't cost $2 million. This type of stuff doesn't cost $1 million.
right.
My day job is that I work with lawyers. I work with a shit ton of lawyers, and I do law related stuff. I won't go into more detail than that because I don't
Sure.
want to dox my day job.
Of course.
But I work with some really, really talented attorneys in New York, and the idea that a case like this would cost that much money is so crazy because like some of the biggest criminal defense cases don't cost that money.
Right.
I don't know where the $1.5 million figure came from.
Well, and I know, so I know that initially, like he said that part of the, GoFundMe is going to go to his previous legal fees from the failed federal lawsuit, and then some of them are going to go to the current one. And I know that originally he was petitioning for $800K and just like blew it out of the water essentially. So, but yeah, I mean, it is a good question. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be one of those things where it's just going to be upkeep of the business. I have no idea.
I also think that like he basically announced that he was going to it's like such a, like when I got hit in the head by Mr. Based, a lot of people, including Keemstar, told me to do a GoFundMe. And I was like, no, I'm going to fight this myself. And I'm going to learn something in the end about, the law and also about how the system works. And also I'm not going to give up, like a lawyer or anyone is not going to be able to accurately, go through all the details of this case the way that I've been so methodical as a filmmaker, going through every little detail. I already know everything. It's a slam dunk for me.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. If you're confident in yourself and like a lot of people say, don't represent yourself. If you're a filmmaker, if you're a journalist, you should have no problem representing yourself because your whole job is documents and sources and all those things that attorneys, the job of a lawyer is really not very important, actually. It's just kind of a figurehead that says stuff in court. But if you can be as professional as a lawyer, which isn't hard to do, lawyers aren't very professional, especially in this like civil world. Civil law is such a weird beast where like most attorneys don't actually practice civil law. Most attorneys practice defamation cases or they practice entertainment law, but these like weird civil cases are so one of a kind. That's what paralegals are for, someone said. Yeah, exactly. Paralegals do a lot of the work. Paralegals do most of the work. But like my point is that if Andrew was super confident in this, he would actually be able to represent himself properly in court and win. But if you're at all in the wrong or you've done anything that is less than, kosher to the judge,
sure.
You're going to get fucked.
Yeah.
If the judge sees even a smidge of you being like, using the evidence in a way, like framing evidence in a way that makes you look good, and then the other side is able to show that that's not true, you're basically fucked.
Yeah.
There's no coming back from that with a judge. And that's what I think has happened here, is that Andrew is too afraid to actually represent the facts of the case. And so he's going to hire as expensive of an attorney as he can to fight instead of I think like the most powerful thing that you have is the truth.
Okay.
Davis Wright Tremaine LLP. Let me look that up.
Yeah. I think that they've had high
they're in New
profile.
York.
I think Andrew was talking about them having high profile clients before. I can't remember who he gave as an example.
They're media lawyers. They're entertainment law.
Entertainment law. Then that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's odd. I mean, I don't know if if the lawsuit announcement video might bite him in the ass too. Because I mean, in that video itself, he at least I think he misframes a lot in terms of, I mean, he makes it seem like Bill Joyner is a very small part of the documentary, whereas he is a pretty central focus. There's just a lot there that's very, I don't know. He words himself very carefully in a way where it's like, oh, well, I'm technically telling the truth, but what I'm saying is kind of misleading, if that makes sense. Like, it's almost this weird, like, double speak kind of thing. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see it shake out, for sure.
Someone said entertainment law, not journalism or free speech law. Well, for one, if you were a journalist and you needed a lawyer, you'd go for an entertainment lawyer too, typically. But and it wouldn't be like a civil liberties or a lawyer like that deals with free speech stuff. It would be, you would go to an entertainment lawyer for something like this. I just think that when you're making a movie and you've made so much money off of it already, which he has, lots and lots of money, people who were in the movie come out of the woodwork and they say either this didn't represent me genuinely, or they say, I want to get paid off of this. And I've had both of those things happen. Not to play devil's advocate here, just to kind of frame this in the right way, which is that, like, your job as the filmmaker is to document everything, is to make sure that when those people come, like when I did the Johnny Somali documentary, Johnny Somali comes out of the woodwork afterwards and is like, Alex fucked me over. Alex screwed me over. And the reason why he said that is because when I showed up in Korea, I got in touch with Johnny Somali and he said, come to Korea and interview me. And I said, I'm going to, don't like cap with me. I will show up to Korea. I'm going to book a flight right now and I'll be there in 3 days. So do not fuck me over.
Right.
I show up in Korea and Johnny avoids me all day. And I call him and Hank, his Chinese handler, picks up and says, Alex, Johnny wants you to give him $30,000 for an interview.
What?
And I'm like, $30,000? Who do you think I am, bro? What?
Right.
And so I draft up a contract that says, if the movie goes on Netflix, Johnny Somali will get $30,000. With no intention of putting the movie on Netflix.
Of course.
My whole intention was to put it on YouTube. But I signed this contract with him because he was trying to extort me, and I wanted to make him feel like he won. Mm-hmm. So that I could just go and get the... I only had a certain number of days in Korea. So I was like, I gotta just make this happen. And then afterwards, when the movie came out, he was like, what the fuck? Where's my money?
Right.
And I'm like, dude, fuck you. You tried to fuck me over, and I fucked you back slightly, but, like, you know, you did this to yourself. You had agreed to participate in this, and then you tried to renege on it once I showed up, thinking that I had already paid $1,000 to get to Korea. That what's another $30,000?
Yeah, right.
Like, bro, no, you're an idiot.
Should have read the contract. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he should have read the contract. The contract also said any promise that I make to him is not real.
Dude, that's great.
Which is it's the Borat contract. I gave him the exact contract that Sacha Baron Cohen has people sign for Borat.
Right. Okay. Wow. That's great.
So my point is that it's our job as filmmakers to prepare to be sued.
Yeah.
By the subjects of the films.
For sure.
If you are making a film that shows what a piece of shit somebody is. Another thing that I did with that film was I talked about Legal Mindset and what a piece of shit he is.
Oh, yeah.
And there were some credible allegations against him in there. And so I was worried that he was going to get the film taken off YouTube. So I registered it with the Library of Congress.
Oh, wow.
Like Ethan Klein does. So that if he tried to petition to get it taken off of YouTube, he'd have to come to an American courtroom. Yeah, more like legal dick sucker. Classic Ethan Ralphism.
Yeah, we're not a fan of Legal Mindset here at all. Yeah. Yeah.
He made a whole video about me called Alex Nowell is a liar like Johnny Somali because I because a woman got in touch with me who was raped by him as a child,
Wow.
as a teenager, and she gave me all this information and did an interview with me that made its way into the film, and Legal Mindset freaked out about it. But what's so interesting is he never sued me or did anything. He never did anything about it besides try to dox the victim unsuccessfully. And then months later, he successfully doxed Tectone's victim.
Yeah, I was about to say that's when I first
And
found out about
and
Legal
everyone
Mindset.
was like, "Why don't you release the name of the girl you interviewed?" And I'm like, "He's going to he's going to send his weird little fans after her."
Yeah.
And that's literally exactly what he did with Tectone's victim.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the way that he conducted himself with the Tectone stuff was just disgusting, honestly. Like, I mean,
he tried
he's a
to
freak.
falsely claim it was like empath. It was like some Nazi chick. It was some far right chick. He tried to claim that me, the most like I'm basically, Hassan has called me his strongest soldier before. That I was collaborating with a Zionist Nazi.
Yeah. Right.
Bro, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, very likely. Yeah. Okay.
I did reach out to Empath Chen one time for an interview. It was Rachel Siegel. That's who it was. Rachel Siegel. Thank you. But I did one time reach out to Empath Chen for an interview. I was trying to do a doc that was about like far right e-girls. But then I realized that if I were to do that, I'd be giving them a platform, and I was like, that's actually a fucking terrible idea.
Yeah. Damn. Okay.
Because it's like their whole thing is they're just trying to funnel people into OnlyFans.
Of course.
So it's like, why would I let these people say inflammatory racist things on my YouTube channel so they could get like white supremacists to jerk off to them?
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
So.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's so obvious just from this interview. You have a lot of great like circumstantial stories around your work and stuff. It's great.
Yeah. I for someone, not to be like, oh, I have a small amount of subs, but like for someone who's done as much shit as I've done and taken as much physical damage, nobody knows, like, nobody really knows about it, which is fine. I prefer it that way because like I won't, the day that everybody knows like who I am or whatever is the day that I will be unable to do some of the crazier shit that I'm able to pull off. Like,
for sure.
I like kind of operating in the shadows and like I think like the best part of making movies is this moment where you get the footage that you were trying to get and you're like run away basically like a thief. There was this guy who was on the Bachelor, the Bachelorette. His name was Josh Sider. I mentioned this a little earlier in the stream that he's this guy on Twitter and he like makes videos and stuff being like making fun of trans people and like pretending to be trans to roast trans people and stuff. And he does the same thing like in blackface to make fun of trans people, saying like he's transracial and he can do blackface because he's transracial. And so I sent like a film crew to his house to like, I told him that because I made this video on the Daily Wire years ago, and so I had an NDA from the Daily Wire, and I sent it to this guy, and I told him that I was a producer for Matt Walsh's team, and that we were making a sequel to What Is a Woman, and that we wanted to interview him. And so I sent a camera crew to his house. They filmed this whole thing with him, and the camera guys called me afterwards, and they're like, he said the N-word. I'm like, no, oh my God, he said the M-word. And I like put together a whole promo with the Daily Wire's logos and stuff, and I got him to tweet it. And then once he tweeted it, he realized that he was like, why isn't the Daily Wire retweeting it? And then he realized that I was fucking with him.
I'm sure he was livid. Yeah.
He was super livid. But like, it was so funny because those type of people, they only act like that when they know that you're on their side. so to have the reversal like that is something really, really special.
Oh, I'm sure that's so satisfying. Yeah.
And that was probably the last one of those type of things that I'll do for a long time, because it's like you can't get much better than that.
Of
I
course.
think like something I learned with doing this type of stuff is like when your content is constantly like pushing the boundaries and stuff, you get in this bad mindset of like you have to constantly top yourself. And now I'm kind of taking a break, and I'm doing this Michael Jackson thing and stuff, mostly to get myself out of continuing to do content that I feel like is negative and doesn't like make people feel good. Like I think my purpose with this stuff is I want people to like laugh and feel like happy and enjoyment. But like the thing I made on Ethan is hard to laugh at because it's heavy to see him say all that fucked up shit. And it's just like commentary, and like I'm sure you get the same type of thing because you make this type of content, that like it's hard to finish a video and then be like, all right, well, who next?
Yeah.
And like that's just the way the internet works, unfortunately, and the way that YouTube works is they want you to have that who next mentality. And I'm not knocking it at all, because I have a lot of friends who make the same type of content. I just think that like for myself, my goal now is to make stuff that is its own thing, that's like separate from the minutia of like internet drama, and that like carries its own weight, because you can accomplish like so many of your goals making that other type of content.
Totally.
But you eventually hit a wall where you're like, what am I building here and what am I working towards? And I think like what's great about your content, like your Gideon video, is that you look at things from a very holistic perspective, and you're not trying to make a sweeping statement about their character more than you're trying to use their footage and their own words and their actions to paint a picture of who this creator is in the larger scheme of the internet.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean that's exactly what we sought out to do. So I really appreciate that. Like, I mean,
and even now you're taking this time to like do all of this due diligence before you could have released a video about Andrew when everybody was talking about this on Twitter weeks ago or a couple days ago or whatever, and I'm sure it would have done well, but it might not have had the same punchiness that you go for in your videos.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we're just that's what we're seeking to do, is just like we want to go a little bit deeper than just like the surface level analysis kind of thing, you know. Yeah.
And that's really where the content lies, is analysis and breakdown and using this vehicle that YouTube gives us of commentary and of like the like greater discussion that happens between YouTube and Twitter to really change somebody's mind about something. It's like if you can get one Andrew Callaghan fan to kind of like snap out of it for a second and be like, oh, maybe this content hasn't been good since 2017.
Yeah. Those are the most satisfying, is seeing
the best thing Andrew Callaghan ever did was when he went to the Ernest Hemingway lookalike thing in Key West. That was a great video, and he was there with Brace Belden.
Yeah,
that was so great, because he's just focusing on these characters instead of like inserting himself into something that like it's not about his commentary that he's offering. It's about showing a story. And I think that's what like his style of like journalism that harkens back, that many people say harkens back to Hunter S. Thompson, is not that, because what Hunter S. Thompson did is he would immerse himself in a community of people. Like he went with the Hells Angels. Like people don't even know who Hunter S. Thompson was.
Yeah.
He like went in with the Hells Angels to understand the way that they lived. Hunter Thompson wasn't going and filming with someone and then sitting in his car afterwards because he didn't want to interact with them off camera.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, exactly. He really immersed himself.
this guy is so far removed from what Hunter S. Thompson is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, support Nick Mosher, who quit working for Andrew years ago and makes amazing documentaries through Documentary Forever. His work is amazing and retains that quality that many people understood as Andrew, but really was just Nick Mosher.
Yeah.
Watch Nick Mosher's work. Don't watch Andrew's work. And yeah, subscribe to Himpleton.
And to you. And to you.
No, you don't have to subscribe to me until you hear that I've successfully become Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Until then,
Okay.
unsubscribe.
Okay.
I've been losing subs like crazy. I've lost like 500 subs since I stopped posting.
Well, we have very high expectations for you to become Michael Jackson and do a great moonwalk. Okay.
Thank you.
We do.
I appreciate it.
One last question for you, Alex. So for somebody like, me who does eventually kind of want to get into the more like IRL element of things, like I have a couple of, documentaries that I'd love to make. I mean, I found this guy out in Tennessee who built a castle by hand because he thinks the rapture is coming.
I know about that. That's awesome.
You know about the Fortress of Faith?
The Fortress of Faith.
I've interviewed that guy
twice. Kind of like the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah, I've interviewed that guy twice. Super, super interesting guy. And then it's stuff like that. I found this place called Dinosaur Kingdom 2, and there is no 1, in Virginia, where it's like this alternate history theme park where it's the Civil War, except if the South won because they had dinosaurs. Like all this stuff that I've found, right? And so for someone like me or just anyone who kind of has these aspirations, what is your advice for like kind of getting their start in, or just their foothold into kind of like doing the IRL documentary kind of thing?
If you don't have a friend to go and film with you, that doesn't matter. You can go out and film yourself. I took my ass all the way to Korea and filmed a documentary, POV style, basically, just interviewing Johnny Somali and people and Ice Poseidon and all those people. You don't have to like, I think a lot of people think when they think of a documentary, they think of like Louis Theroux style, that like, you are on camera and someone's filming you and everyone's mic'd up all fancy. It doesn't have to be that. Go out and get the footage. That's like the number one thing for doc work, is like, if you just make a crazy snap decision and then go do it. Like I reached out to this Michael Jackson impersonator, and he is a professional wrestler, Michael Jackson impersonator.
Wow.
And he told me that he was going to be in Chicago wrestling against a veteran impersonator named Stephen Flo. And he told me on a Wednesday that was going to happen, and that it was happening on a Friday, like that Friday.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll be there. And so I got in my car and I drove 17 hours to film this thing. And it's like, you got to just sometimes decide, like, this is happening. And like what's cool about a movie is, like, if you have an idea that's good, the movie is the vehicle, and you are just kind of, you don't call the shots anymore. I think like that's the best thing that you can do, is completely give yourself over to the project you're working on and be like, I got to go to the Virginia theme park. I got to go there then. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's happening this Friday, and I'm going to do it. And you just go and film it, and then you look at the footage, and if the footage isn't great, go back again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you have to choose to do it, and then it will be. And that's kind of the way that films get made, especially like these small independent documentaries, is like, there's one person who's deciding to either do or not do the movie. And that's usually the person who's also holding the camera, because you just don't have those type of resources. And that's what my whole film is about in the end, is like, I don't have a ton of resources or money or anything to make this stuff. And thusly, I feel sometimes mediocre. Sometimes I'm editing my film and I'm like, this isn't as good as I'd like. But that's kind of the point, is that like, I'm never going to be Michael Jackson. I can keep working and trying to be, or like I'm never going to be Michael Moore. Like, I can keep trying with my films to get them as good as possible, but that's the thing, is like, I'm never going to get to be Michael Jackson or Michael Moore or anything if I don't push at it and try to make it happen for myself.
Yeah.
Even if I'm staring my own mediocrity in the face and seeing that I'm not as good as I want to be, which is like a grim thing to handle if like you're like me and film is the only thing you've ever done your whole life. uh you know, you just have to keep pushing at it until you're accomplishing the stuff that you want to.
Yeah. Cool. That's good. That's good advice. Okay. Well,
Yeah, sorry for being a little long-winded there, but I
no.
am really, really passionate about this stuff.
No, you're not long-winded at all. This was perfect. Alex, I really appreciate you coming on. This was a pleasure. And I do wish you the best of luck on this on the Michael Jackson impersonation documentary. And
Thank you.
I'm very excited to see your moonwalk once you're ready for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it, and yeah, I look forward to seeing your Andrew video when it drops.
Thanks, man. All right. You have a great night, and I'll speak to you later.
See ya.